I expected this to be a normal follow-up test. Well, it wasn't. What you're looking at here is 0.52 arcseconds total RMS. That's at 1440 millimeters and 1 second exposures, no guiding assistant, first calibration, and that changed how I think about guide cameras. My name is Doug, and this is Astro AF. All right, so today I'm going to go ahead and do the practical guiding follow-up for the Xena 585M guiding camera and also planetary. It's part of the Dwarf Planet series. In this case, my application is going to be for guiding. If you haven't seen my first video, I'll put it up over here so that you can go get more detailed information about this camera. I won't be going into that detail in this video. What we will be doing is replacing my old ZWO ASI 120mm Mini here with the 585 from Player One, and I'm really looking forward to retiring this. So we're going to go ahead and get into that next. But yeah, I am really looking forward to this. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited about the Player One Xena 585M here, heading up my guiding. So in this video, we will go forward and get this installed, and then we will get it up and set it up and calibrated once it gets dark, and run some guiding assistant, and then we're going to get it on our target, and we're going to put this through practical use, and then I intend to take a look at the logs afterward. We'll look at how we did tonight. I don't know if that will be a big difference or not. What I do expect is that my field of view is going to be so much more improved, and I hope that that really helps provide a better guiding experience, having more stars available in the field of view, because sometimes I only maybe have one star. Other times it's very limited that I would have, you know, a full, 8 or 9 stars available for multi-star guiding with this camera. So I'm looking forward to having more opportunities for that. That should in itself make this guiding more accurate. So we'll see. All right, so first we'll just go ahead and disconnect and remove the 120mm Mini. You know, this has been a good guiding camera, so don't get me wrong. It has done a pretty good job for me, and I can't really bash it. These are tried and true, and maybe I'll do something with this and on lunar or something like that. It probably still has some uses in my toolbox. Pretty much simple to replace the guide camera. Then with the Xena, I'm gonna swap the cover real quick just to keep the sensor on the ZWO clean. Now, I use something here which is called a Parfocal Ring, and I'll leave a link in the description for this, and you will thank me later, I promise you. If you're not using Parfocal Rings on your guiding cameras, you really need to check this out. It's simple, it's inexpensive, and once you get this set, you'll insert your guide camera in with the Parfocal Ring on it. And then I won't do it right now, but once I get focused with this, and because I'm going to have to go through a process of moving this in and out to get my rough focus, and then I'll dial in my final focus here and tighten this down. Then I can take this Parfocal Ring and I can adjust it down the length of the camera tube, and then tighten it up on here, and then this Parfocal Ring will stay attached. So later, whenever I tear down or I make changes and I pull this camera out, the Parfocal Ring stays in place. And this is great because when I go back to reassemble this and put all the gear back together and slide it in, it will slide back in exactly to my back focus point. And every time it'll work. So if you're not using Parfocal Rings, go down in my description, grab the link right now, head over and get some of these for yourself. So that's pretty much it for setup, other than I want to go ahead. I got a new cable for this, shorter. The one that came with this camera was about 2 meters, and I only need it from here at the camera to my power box. And so I'm going to run that up. I would be able to plug this into the back here if I wanted to. However, I kind of like to leave the main camera on its own USB 3 port, and then I'll put the guiding on its own USB 3 port, and that way I make sure I don't interfere with any data transfer, off of the same port by piggybacking those. So right now, so that's pretty good. We'll wait for it to get dark, polar aligned, and get my focus set, on the scope here, and then I will go ahead, once I have primary focus, we'll come down and I will get the Xena 585 set up and in focus, locked in. I'll tighten up that Parfocal Ring in that position, and then we'll go ahead and do calibration and guiding assistant and get set up and get on a target. Can I say effortless? I'm blown away by this Player One Xena 585M. It nailed calibration the first try, and it's great. I've never had so many stars in my field of view, and I started guiding at 0.52, 0.53 without guiding assistant. I just stepped away from it. I was like, man, I can only make this worse if I touch anything. This was my practical experience replacing the ZWO ASI 120mm Mini with my Player One Xena 585M as my guide camera. So same mount, the HEQ5 Pro that I did upgrades on coming up on 2 years ago with the Hypertune and the belt mod. And then same scope, the EdgeHD 8, 1440 millimeters with the 7x reduction. Same OAG, same environment. So the only thing that changed was the guiding camera. So if we look here is the PHD2 Profile. I have the Xena 585 selected, binning is set to 2, exposure is set to 1 second, dark library is loaded, pixel size is confirmed, nothing exotic, nothing tuned aggressively, just clean baseline setup. I haven't messed with different gains yet, and we'll see. I just basically took the defaults. So this was my first calibration. It's orthogonal and clean. There's no weird declination behavior. There's no fighting drift, no strange step sizes. It just worked. That alone was encouraging, but calibration doesn't tell the whole story. So let's go over and take a look at this screen capture I did. So the first thing I noticed was the star field. Dramatically more stars in the field of view than I've ever had before. And that's what I was really hoping to get out of this camera. So there's no hunting for usable guide stars, strong signal and noise ratio, SNR in the mid-30s and higher. Centroids were stable immediately. This isn't about resolution, it's about signal quality. Now if we go over and look at the guiding graph, I hit start guiding and it just locked. No long settling period, no oscillating phase, no minutes of waiting for RMS to calm down. It started at about 0.53 arcseconds and settled in at about 0.52 later. I'm taking 1 second exposures. With the 120mm Mini, 3.5 seconds wasn't a preference, it was mandatory. With the Xena, 1 second just works. This is a very different experience for me. I had no idea what my expectations were coming in. I really didn't think a camera was going to make a dramatic impact on my guiding experience. Man, I was wrong. So this wasn't a resolution upgrade, it was a measurement precision upgrade. What changed was not the mount, what changed was the feedback loop. So higher sensitivity, higher signal and noise, cleaner centroids calculation, lower noise floor. The mount didn't get better, the feedback loop did. I didn't upgrade the mount, I upgraded what the mount was listening to. So if we take a look at the guide graph detail, we can look at these RA traces, calm and controlled, small corrections, no chasing noise. At 1 second exposures, if there is centroid noise, you see it immediately. You can't hide behind temporal averaging. So if 1 second guiding is stable at 0.52 arcseconds RMS, that means the measurement is clean. So the 120mm, it isn't a bad camera. I've used it for years. I've had a lot of great nights guiding with it, plenty of solid sessions, plenty of successful images. It's reliable, it works, it does the job. But what I didn't realize was what I was actually missing. With the 120, 3.5 seconds exposures weren't optional. You know, they were necessary. Longer exposures helped smooth out centroid noise, but they made guiding stable, but they also introduced latency. That meant more averaging, more delay and corrections, more subtle overshoots, more chasing small errors. But with the 120mm, I could guide successfully, but there was always a delay before things really stabilized. In fact, PHD2 often didn't settle fast enough to report back to Nina within the expected window, and I'd get settling timeout errors every session. And during the session as well, so after a meridian flip or the like, whenever we resume guiding, I would get the same timeout errors. None of that with the 585. It wasn't that guiding was bad, okay, so don't get me wrong. It was that stabilization took longer. I had simply accepted that as normal, but with the Xena, guiding settled immediately. I mean, no waiting, no timeout, no extra delay before automation could proceed. It was like, I couldn't believe it. I sat back expecting it to take about 3 minutes, and no, it just started guiding immediately, and we were exposing. So it was really a refreshing experience. But that difference, it's not dramatic in isolation, you know, but when you're running automated imaging, it matters. And I just assumed that was normal. I assumed that was the mount. What I didn't recognize was that some of what I was seeing wasn't mechanical limitation, it was measurement limitation. So when I switched to the Xena and 1 second exposures just worked, that's when it all clicked for me. The mount didn't suddenly improve. The signal that feeds the mount did improve. And I attribute that to the Xena 585. And I'm just really ecstatic about it. Let's take a look at some of the star crops here. I've got a screenshot of the field of view. Kind of forgetting the graph for a second, let's take a look at the stars. So these are at 1 second guiding, no guiding assistant. So check out the symmetry, round and balanced, no subtle micro elongation in one direction, no tiny skew in RA, no almost round. These are clean. And notice something else. See the bright objects in the frame that are not selected for guiding? The ones that do have a little bit of elongation? So those aren't stars, they're extended objects. And PHD2 isn't grabbing them. It's choosing clean, well-defined stellar profiles. That tells you the centroid data is solid. This isn't just more stars, it's better star data. Graphs convince engineers, you know, stars convince everyone, you know, and I just was elated to see this. When the stars tighten up at this focal length, you know the feedback loop is improved. And I have not seen this level of consistency from this mount before. And that's a huge difference to me. You know, really, my bigger message on this is that it's not about megapixels. It's not about marketing specs. You know, guide cameras are invisible when they work, but they quietly cap performance when they don't. And if you think you've hit your guiding ceiling, you might not have. Just food for thought. I really didn't know what I didn't know. Sometimes the limiter isn't mechanical, it's measurement. So this experience genuinely surprised me. I expected incremental improvement, and I thought I'd have to work to get everything dialed in and configured. But what I saw was an immediate behavioral shift, the same mount, the same scope, you know, the same night, different measurement precision, and that made all the difference for me. So I'd like to go back out and we'll take a look, because I did promise you I would show you those Parfocal rings, and I want to show you putting those on and just mention those again briefly, because I think they are great, and if I didn't, I would be doing you a disservice. And I know that it's something that if you're not using now, that you should consider, and if you do, you will immediately recognize how important they are, especially when you need to swap out your camera, you're taking your scope down and putting it back up. I'll show you when we get out to the mount. All right, out here at the scope, as promised, I wanted to show you about the Parfocal rings. And here on the Player One Xena 585M, I have one loosely installed on here. The idea is to first get your back focus, your rough back focus, by moving the camera in and out, so either in your guide scope or in this case in my OAG. And then once you get your primary or your rough focus and you want to start working on your primary, go ahead and dial in your primary focus, and once you're good, You know, and before you do that, make sure that you focus your main scope or your, you know, first, unless you're using a guide scope, but with an OAG, I need to ensure that my telescope's prime focus is dialed in because we're using, you know, the same tube here, same optics. And so this focus for the telescope needs to be in check first, and then I can dial this in. And so once this is dialed in and I've got it tightened down here in the OAG, now I can go ahead and set this parfocal ring. And on it, there's 3 little set screws. And I just want to kind of orient those. I'm thinking about, you know, if it were dark, I want to be able to see this stuff. Sometimes my filter wheel might be rotated up, in which case I wouldn't be able to get to a screw in the back. So I'm going to orient these so I've got a couple screws off to the sides here, and the third one is up front, and that way if that is moved and I'm in the dark, I can locate these screws if I need to. So what I want to do with this camera in its prime focus position, I want to push down on this parfocal ring and ensure that it is tight against that stop on my OAG here, or your guide scope. And then I think this is a 1.5 millimeter Allen key. While holding down this parfocal ring, make sure it's down and level so you don't have any gaps. And then just touch off on the first one, second and third one. Make sure you're still pushing down. You want that parfocal ring to remain tight against the OAG. That's your stop. And then once I get all 3 of those touched off, then I'm going to go ahead and give them a snug. You don't have to get too tight on this, just nip them, as they say. And once that's good, this parfocal ring will be in position. And with that done, I can, without fear or concern, take my camera out, put it away, go travel, and come back, set up, put it back in, and it is now in the same focus position that it was before. This will be in focus. I may have to do a slight prime focus adjustment. It won't be anything major, and that'll work every time. So I highly recommend these. They'll make your life easier. They make things more dependable and repeatable. And if you haven't tried these, go check out the link down in the description and get yourself some. They're literally a couple bucks or something, I don't know. I think these are great, and I've been using them for at least a couple years now. They were suggested to me, and I really appreciate that suggestion. It makes a big difference. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. That's parfocal rings for you. So yeah, that was my experience with the Xena 585M from Player One, and I'm elated. I was like having a O&G experience the first time that I fired it up and started, and I just really couldn't believe how well it was working and the difference that it made. So, and maybe that sounds exceptional in a way, but to be honest with you, it is exceptional. And I was just elated and excited. I was messaging my friends. I was like, my God, I can't believe how big of a deal this is, and how big of a change I'm experiencing as a result of just swapping out the guide camera. It just made my imaging experience that much more enjoyable. So, and I'm really, really happy with the end results. I think it improved, and in my final images, and I want to show you here coming up, I've got IC410, the Tadpole Nebula, and I've got specs coming up on that. I'll show you on what my integration was and the filters I used, and then of course the 585M Xena from Player One was the guide used to obtain this image. So anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Do check out down in the description. You can join my Discord, and if you want to support this channel, I've got links down there to do that. If you don't have a Parfocal Ring, I got a link in the description for that as well. It's an affiliate link, but these are so super cheap. If you're going to be shopping on Amazon anyway, grab a Parfocal Ring and use the link that I have down in the description. All right, thank you very much. My name is Doug. This is AstroF, and this is IC410, the Tadpole Nebula.